Honor. First and foremost, I want to thank the court for the opportunity to speak today in front of you all. I have not spoken this entire time while my case was ongoing for several reasons, so this is difficult to talk about, but I'm just going to try my best. This experience, has been by far one of the most difficult things to navigate in my life. It has been very scary and challenging in more ways than one. I fully acknowledge that what I did was wrong, and I am incredibly sorry. If there was anything I could do to take it back, I would. The reality is that I can't. The only thing I can do is correct it, learn from it, and move forward. I beat myself up about it the whole last year in silence because I didn't know how to tell anybody what was going on. After January, I have continually beat myself up about it as well. I realize that I can't undo the past, but that doesn't mean that I still can't walk away from this experience as a better human and move forward. My goal now is to make amends in the ways I can, try to learn from my mistakes, figure out how I got myself here so I don't repeat this terrible mistake, and do what I can to turn this lesson into a positive, with the hope that I can make amends and hopefully positively influence the many people touched by my poor choices, cancer, or people mistakenly thinking about following in a similar mistaken path. A lot of people have made speculation as to why I did this and how somebody who looked like they had everything together could have such a mess. I didn't do this for money or greed. I didn't do this for attention. I did this in an attempt to try and get my family back together. I come from an extremely broken and separated family ever since I was 2 years old. Over the years, it has gotten steadily worse, and a lot has happened internally to our family. A family is supposed to be one that's drawn together, not drift further and further apart. I was always told that, quote, I was the only one that could fix it, and I have tried for years. Nothing was working, and I kept pulling for everybody to be a normal, functioning, loving, supportive family. I thought if I said what I said, it would make everybody pull together. It didn't work, and it only got worse. After that happened, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't tell anybody, and too many people knew already. From here, it all went downhill, and it snowballed quickly and hard. The way I went about this was not right, and I wish I would have sought out help regarding my family before making this immature decision. I was 18 years old, and I was a freshman in college when it took place. I'm young, and I don't know it all. I was not being rational. I have learned a lot from this experience, and I want to take this bad moment in my life and turn around and do good for society. I want this to reach an audience to say that it is okay if you are struggling and you need help. It is not a sign of weakness to say that you need help with something and you're not okay. I wish I would have done this a long time ago. It is also a reminder that everybody is silently battling something and you never know what is going on in somebody's life. Let this be a reminder to give each other more grace and compassion. Some might say I looked like I had it all together. I didn't. Instead, I had a situation I was stuck in a family that was, well, about as far from family as it can get. I had deep wounds I never learned how to heal from little on. I'm not afraid to admit that because it meant I finally learned how to heal from the inside out and realize that I am not God. I can't fix everything that is not in my control. All I can do is be a better version of myself every day, step by step, I have taken big steps to grow and learn from my choices and the things that have gotten me here. I have been engaged in counseling, and I plan to continue. I've also continued working. I am set to finish college in May and start an exciting new chapter in my career that I feel fortunate to have. In the future, I want to go back to school and get my master's. But most importantly, I want to create my own family someday. I want to break this cycle of how I grew up. And I wanted to make a family that I wish I had, one full of love, belongingness, support, cheerful gatherings at holidays and celebrations, and a cohesive unit. God willing, I pray for this. I also pray for all of those that were hurt by my irrational decision. I pray for the damage that has resulted from my actions and any harm or disrespect I caused or showed to anyone battling cancer, touched by cancer, or fighting to help people with cancer or other medical issues. Your Honor, I'm a good kid. I know I am still a good person. I have a lot to give to this world, and I don't give up. I would do anything to take back what I did. Again, I am so terribly sorry. This is something that I will have to live with for the rest of my life when I look at myself in the mirror. But I know it doesn't define me. It's not what mistakes we have done that determine our character, but instead how we respond to them and how we move forward from them in the future that shows our true character and resilience. My future gives me hope, and I am determined to make it the best I can. I ask for forgiveness and a second chance.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Russo. Ms. Cunningham, the first victim representative that would like to speak, I believe there was someone from the Ohl Foundation.
Margaret Ohl
Okay.
is present. And Mrs. Ohl, would you like to stand and give your statement?
Yes.
Sure, absolutely. Yes. And Your Honor, do you want to go ahead and have them get on the witness stand? Would that be better?
Yeah, I think it would. Yeah. Please proceed when you are ready, Ms. Ohl.
My name is Peggy Ohl. Margaret is my given name. And I, first of all, just feel kind of betrayed by the Scott County Attorney's Office coming here. So I just wanted to say that first. I wrote this letter on February 2nd of this year. On April 27th, 2016, my husband Brent was diagnosed with cancer in his pancreas, liver, lungs, and his hip bone. After hoping and praying it was any other cancer besides pancreatic cancer, our very worst fear became reality. He had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He was 48 years old, and we had 2 boys, 9 and 12. The oncologist sat us down and told us to get our affairs in order. For 4.5 months later, four and a half months later, after 2 trips to MD Anderson in Houston, Texas, and rounds of chemo, on August 27th, Brent was gone. The man I married and loved, the man who was the father of my boys, the man I said I would be there for in sickness and in health was gone. Our life together was gone forever. While he was sick, he was incredibly brave, strong, and so kind and thankful to everyone who helped him through his short battle. He said thank you to every nurse and doctor who took care of him. He never got angry, and he fought like crazy to live. He wanted so much to live. Even writing brings all the feelings back of how much he wanted to live and how hard he fought to be there for our boys. My heart was broken. Brent was an anesthesiologist and took care of thousands of people over his career. He was very much loved by his colleagues, partners, and pretty much all of the staff at the different hospitals he worked. He was loved by his family and his friends. When he got sick, it was overwhelming how many people reached out to our family to help us. As gifts, food, and sometimes money were given to us, we felt so overwhelmed with the love and support that it was hard to even comprehend. Those 4.5 months are impossible to even describe. But through it all, I made a vow to myself that I would never, ever forget. And I would keep track, and I kept track as best as I could and wrote thank yous as the gifts came to us. Watching your big, strong partner in life lose his life and telling your kids dad has gone to heaven changes you forever and ever. A few months after Brent was gone, a few nurses that Brent worked with organized the Stroll for Ole. It was a walk, run, and the money raised, which was about $17,000, was given to Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, PanCan, in Brent's memory. My boys and I walked in this event. I couldn't believe how many people showed up and participated. It wasn't long after that some of the nurses started talking about doing something annually. I felt compelled to get involved because if they were going to do something, I wanted to be a part of it. Well, that was the very beginning of the Dr. Brent Ole Strong Pancreatic Cancer Support and Awareness Fund. With the help of nurses, friends, and the Trinity Health Foundation, we set out to start what was initially a $50 gift card to those diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. But it grew quickly and became a $500 Visa gift card given to anyone diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in our greater Quad City area. We could reach out approximately 72 miles from the Quad City area. I stretched how much I wanted this to be a gesture of love and kindness, to let people diagnosed know that they weren't alone and that people cared about them. I wanted to feel kind of like how Brent and I felt when people helped us. I stressed how I really wanted the process to be easy. Because people diagnosed with pancreatic cancer often don't have the time to fill out an application or ask for help. They can get so quick, fast. With the help and support of many people, this grew so that we could give these gifts out to at both Unity Point Hospital and Genesis Hospital. And now we give them out at the University of Iowa as well. Sometimes by word of mouth, I would find out about someone, and along with someone from our team, we would deliver these gift cards to people diagnosed with pancreatic cancer or families who had lost somebody to pancreatic cancer. But because it happened so fast, their loved one had already lost their battle. I've devoted a great deal of my life to this effort and tried to give back to patients diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Our boys, who are now 16 and 19, have gotten involved in our fundraising and our cause. Their football teams help at our fundraiser. Our boys proudly wear the Ole Strong t-shirt and sweatshirts from our past years. This is their dad's legacy. It means so much to them as well. Sometimes people would contact me and tell me about a friend of theirs that was recently diagnosed. Countless times it was by word of mouth that I would find out about someone and I would be sure our packet got to them. I wanted to give them a little bit of what was so generously given to us when Brent was sick. I never imagined someone so callously would fake they had such a devastating cancer as pancreatic cancer and willingly accept our gift of love and kindness and lie directly to my face. My heart was broken in disbelief. My oldest son found out about it while at school when his teacher, who gave to the GoFundMe, heard about her arrest and put her mugshot up on the screen in the classroom. My son was wearing his Ole Strong shirt that day with her name on it. He got home from school. I told him that she was in jail, and he said, "Good." I gave her our packet without thinking twice. I checked up on her over the course of the year. I asked how she was doing and asked if she wanted to go get coffee or something. She turned me down each time. She finally did agree to come to our fall Iowa tailgate fundraiser, which was last year. That was last year's event. Brent loved the Hawkeyes and tailgating. She wore our Old Strong sweatshirt that had her name on it and many other people who'd also fought pancreatic cancer's name on it. Many of them died. She took pictures with me, the Old Strong team and other recipients of our Old Strong gift, families who lost loved ones to pancreatic cancer. She took a picture with my late husband's dad. She stood at our event knowingly lying about her cancer. Is really unbelievable. She stood in front of me with her wig on, knowing she wasn't sick at all. Now, after all this has come out, I've lost sleep over how she could possibly do this. Why did she choose pancreatic cancer? I knew of her mom as she graduated from high school with Brent. They shared the same birthday and her mom lived in Eldridge. Did she choose this cancer on purpose because of Brent's fund? I've questioned myself for not getting something in writing stating her diagnosis, but I'd never done that before with anyone who was from our small town of Eldridge. I knew who her mom was. I've questioned myself for giving her name to our local North Scott Press paper to do an article about her and 2 other Old Strong recipients as a way to bring more awareness to pancreatic cancer and to let people know about our fundraiser. I feel terribly guilty for lending any sort of legitimacy to her story. I feel terrible that her name is now somehow tied to Brent's amazing legacy. Thinking about this consumed me and physically wore me out. I felt personally responsible for giving her our Old Strong packet and giving her name to the North Scott Press. I feel incredibly betrayed and angry. As a result of her betrayal, we are now going to have to look more closely at how we give out these packets. My feeling of giving our Dr. Brent Oldstrong pancreatic cancer support and awareness packets to pancreatic cancer patients in memory of Brent is going to be restrained and restricted, and I'm so sad for that. I want it to be so easy and to be free to give our gift of love and support. I'm heartbroken that Maddie Russo did this. I hope Maddie Russo is held responsible. I hope Maddie Russo has to spend a great deal of time in jail. I hope Maddie Russo has to pay restitution. She preyed on my emotions and my giving nature. She used my husband's legacy and our fund to better her story and to lend legitimacy to her fake cancer story. Thank you. And I brought a sweatshirt from our last year's fundraiser, and it has her name all over all of our merchandise from last year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Completely disgusting.
The state would call Rhonda Miles.
Completely disgusting. It's gut-wrenching.
Good morning, Ms. Miles. Please have a seat. Please proceed, Ms. Miles.
I want to reiterate what Peggy said. I do also feel a little bit of a betrayal. I just feel like I watched the prosecuting side turn into the defending side. So I just want to say that also. My name is Rhonda Miles, and I am the founder and president of the Nikki Mitchell Foundation in Nashville, Tennessee. In 2013, I lost my best friend, Nikki Mitchell, to pancreas cancer after a 31-month fight. She was strong, resilient, and handled this disease with more grace than I've ever seen. I watched the trauma, the emotional, physical, and psychological effects that she endured. I walked in on her more times than I can count, sitting cross-legged on her bed with feeding tubes, pain pumps, weighing 85 pounds, with tears in her eyes and not a hair on her head, doing what she did best. She was praying. not only for herself, but also for those that she met during chemo and the friends and family that she'd be leaving behind. I was one of those prayers. That vision never leaves me, and I can guarantee you it was not staged or manufactured in any way, shape, or form. She had more integrity, honesty, compassion, bravery, and empathy than anyone I know. These are qualities that Madison Russo either was not instilled with or just does not embody. We're a small organization, and the biggest thing our organization is known for is our patient assistance, financial and emotional. We had patients on the waiting list while we were working with Madison to try to get her records so we could help her. Real patients, patiently waiting. I used a precious ask. Madison, I used to ask with the world's best pancreas surgeon to get you a second opinion. And that's hard to get. And you took that precious ask away from a deserving pancreas cancer patient. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. We provide Atlanta's Piedmont Health pre-surgical patients and their caregivers weekly Zoom support sessions with clinicians, patient, and caregiver ambassadors who we train. Watching the people on these sessions as they tell their stories is heartbreaking and at other times can be joyful. Bi-weekly, we have another Zoom session for those in all stages. That session is extremely difficult to get through because it's all stages of the disease and some have no hope. We connected Madison and her mother, Peggy, for emotional support with other patients and family. It's traumatic to retell your story, and patients open their hearts as someone going through the same thing. Madison manipulated, lied, and let these patients willingly pull the Band-Aid off their wounds one more time in the name of supporting a fellow patient. What Madison Russo did was devastating in so many ways. I'm also including anyone who helped her or who even knew what she was doing and didn't stop it. We've wasted precious time and resources on this scam when we could have been with someone in real need. When talking to potential donors as an organization, Madison Russo has become the face of pancreas cancer, and I want to thank you for that. Not our real patients, not Ruth Bader Ginsburg, not Representative John Lewis, not Patrick Swayze, Steve Jobs, or Alex Trebek, but Madison Russo. I hate you're even in the conversation. I just returned last week from our largest fundraiser and had multiple donors ask about your horrible act, what you did, and what I thought your sentence would be. Quite honestly, my answer was, look at her. She's the picture of privilege as we're continuing to see in our country. I pray for justice for the ones truly battling, but I expect another travesty. And after hearing today, I really expect that. I've heard that there's those who think you've paid enough. You can't get a job, people looking at you differently, harassing you with veiled death threats. All I can think is, so? There are thousands of pancreas cancer patients who can't go to work, are looked at differently, and only 10% escape death within 5 years. Now here's my ask from the court. Madison to be sentenced to time in a long probation that includes community service in the cancer world, a world she obviously has no respect or compassion for. I disagree with you when you said that this could be a deterrent. A slap on the wrist is not a deterrent to others. It's a green light. It's an absolute green light. Madison needs to remember, karma's real. and can be brutal. Cancer is real and is brutal, and it's all around us. And what's going to happen if Madison or her family really do get a diagnosis? Will we believe? I doubt it. Impact on a life. It's all we can hope to do in this world is have impact, positive impact on lives. Nikki Mitchell had more impact than anyone I've ever known. I had a career, and when she died, I left that career to start a foundation and for no pay for 7 years. I make $20,000 a year now on an organization that's raised almost $5 million. Nikki made impact. You need to remember what impact really looks like. Your Honor, thank you for letting me sit up here and be the voice for 60,000 people who truly get diagnosed every year. I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
God bless these people for getting up there and supporting this girl in her fake.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ms. Russo, ma'am, in sentencing you, it is my duty under the law to look at the seriousness of the crime, the effect that the crime has upon members of the community, your willingness to accept change in treatment, and what's available to me in the community to assist you in that process. The law directs that I do look at the least restrictive alternatives first and then proceed to the more restrictive alternatives. I consider what an appropriate rehabilitative plan for you would be, but I also must protect the interest of the public. In this case, the interest of the public is in having people with the idea that they can donate to charities without the fear of it being a scam. I have reviewed the pre-sentence report and have, of course, considered all of the information in that report. That report indicates that there are a number of good things about you. You have no prior criminal history. You came from a home while your parents were divorced, but you did apparently come from a loving home. You are not subject to any abuse. You were involved in activities and had many friends. You graduated from high school with a GPA of 3.7. You enrolled in St. Ambrose and graduated, or not graduated, but you were on the dean's list each semester with a GPA of no less than 3.66. At the time of your arrest, you were employed by Deere & Company, I believe in product marketing as an intern. In short, I see little about your background that would indicate that you had not learned any better growing up, nor did I see any dire need for money. There was no substance abuse, no drug addiction. I think it is appropriate to briefly summarize the facts. On February 10, 2022, you began an elaborate scheme which involved you supposedly having pancreatic cancer and acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Through this scheme, you deceived your friends, your family, your community, other cancer victims, charities, and strangers who were motivated by your supposedly tragic story to donate to you to help support you through your disease. Most of these donations went into a GoFundMe account. Your scheme continued for a very lengthy period of time. You raised in excess of $39,000 from over 400 donors. I learned today that with Ms. Oles and her foundation, you appeared in person in support of this charade. This issue came to light when in January 11, 2023, 3 medical professionals reported medical inconsistencies in your story to the Eldridge Police Department. The Eldridge Police Department worked extensively with those medical professionals to discover inconsistencies with your story of you having cancer and leukemia. They investigated your social media posts, your interviews, your news stories, and other sources, many medical inconsistencies were discovered. It was discovered that you had adopted or essentially parroted and used as your own other cancer patients' stories. Search warrants were applied for and granted, and your home was searched, and it was discovered that you had things to support your fake cancer claims, such as a wig, IV bags filled with cotton balls, feeding pumps, wound dressings, and other medical equipment. It's just hard for me to fathom what was going through your mind while you were making yourself up and using a fake IV or using to photograph yourself or fake bandages. It's hard to imagine what was going through your mind. After your arrest, to your credit, you were interviewed and admitted to not having cancer, not having a tumor that wrapped around your spine, and admitted to taking staged photographs of yourself to spread your story, and admitted to using other actual cancer patients' stories as pictures of you. You also admitted to receiving private donations that you would deposit in your checking account separate from the GoFundMe account. It is absolutely clear to the court that you engaged in a lengthy course of deceit. Today, you indicate, my initial reaction, quite frankly, was this lengthy course of deceit was motivated by greed or perhaps social media fame. I am not quite confident as I was walking in here that that is the case, but it is abundantly the case that this was not an isolated or momentary lapse in judgment. You were bold enough to be interviewed by the North Scott Press regarding your cancer. You frequently appeared on social media concerning your supposed cancer. You went so far as to speak to the National Pancreas Cancer Foundation. I understand you spoke to students and donors at St. Ambrose University. You spoke to actual cancer groups. You made many appearances, public and on social media, to push your fraudulent scheme. At any step along that way, you could have stopped. You could have stopped. It did not stop until you were caught. In sentencing you, I also have some concern regarding your tendency to divert blame to your family and your mother. I can accept the fact that your relationship with your mother and perhaps even your siblings was strained. I was not there. I do not know. However, I do not regard that as sufficient reason for, even if you did somehow think in a misguided effort to bring the family together, you were going to report that you had cancer. Okay, perhaps I could accept that as having happened. But to not, over a course of a year, to continue that charade and to actively promote it, not just remaining silent, but actively promoting on social media and through personal appearances, promoting yourself as a person with cancer. That is not a momentary lapse in judgment. Your attorney called an expert, Dr. Peitz, I believe, Peitz. I entirely agree with her conclusion that it is for the reasons I will get to in a moment, that you are a good candidate for probation. You are a good candidate not to reoffend. I accept that I doubt that you will ever commit a crime like this again. However, deterrence of others is a very important goal of the criminal justice system, and I will get to that in a moment. My discretion today is in sentencing you is rather limited. You entered a plea agreement with the state whereby both parties, the state and the defendant, your counsel, recommend to the court that a suspended sentence for theft in the first degree be imposed. The concurrence of the court is a condition to that plea agreement. In other words, we wouldn't be here for sentencing today if the parties had not reached a plea agreement. So my decision here today is quite limited. My decision is to either accept the plea agreement or reject the plea agreement. While there is a very strong case can be made that the extent of your scheme requires incarceration, I can certainly appreciate the thoughts of the two women that testified in a very heartfelt way here today. I can certainly appreciate and understand their thoughts that the time in jail is appropriate. However, you have no prior criminal record. You were and are very young. You have been cooperative with the prosecution, and you agreed that at least the victims that directly donated to your campaign will be made whole by the restitution. You have also suffered a very real and substantial punishment of the local, national, and even international coverage of your crime. The court has determined that no further purpose would be served by rejecting the plea agreement and requiring the parties to take this case to trial, simply so the sentencing judge could have the option of placing you in prison, that would be the result if I did not suspend the sentences here today. So my decision is really down to choosing between a suspended sentence and a deferred judgment. Certainly I am bearing in mind again that you are very young, that you have no prior criminal history. For those of you in the audience that might not know what a deferred judgment is, it allows the court to defer making a decision on the appropriate sentence for a period of probation, typically 2 or 3 years. The defendant is placed on probation for that period of time. If the defendant successfully completes probation and commits no other crimes and pays all the restitution ordered, at the end of 2 years, the charges against her would be dismissed without the entry of judgment. This would mean that Ms. Russo would not have a conviction for theft in the first degree on her criminal record. It would also mean that she retains various rights that she would lose with a felony conviction, such as the right to vote. But I am firmly convinced here today that it would not be remotely just to defer judgment in this case and allow you to proceed further in life without the consequence of this criminal conviction for theft on your record. You engaged in a continuing criminal scheme that lasted for a year that requires more serious punishment of that, and that will serve as a deterrent to both you and others similarly situated. Frankly, I think there is a good purpose served by having people with whom you will interact in the future know that at one time you engaged in this criminal scheme. Serious crimes must have serious consequences to deter both you and others from such crimes in the future. Granting a deferred judgment, in my mind, would send the wrong message to others out there that might be inclined to commit similar crimes. And I say that, I will add that I say that with all respect to Ms. Cunningham in the county attorney's office. She is a fine lawyer who is actually typically quite quite stern with her recommendations. And I know that her recommendation for a deferred judgment is not one that she made lightly. I, however, for the reasons expressed, have a different opinion. And I also, while much has been made about the fact that the restitution will be paid, yes, the people that directly contributed will receive restitution, a monetary restitution, which is, I believe, in the full amount. That is a wonderful thing. However, that does not compensate. The full restitution is not made because in my mind, the fact that this false claim was made and this lengthy false campaign took place causes other people around the country, not even in this community, to hesitate to donate to those seriously in need, thinking that it is all, it's likely a hoax or likely a fraud or, oh, those people, it might be a
That's the
scam.
facts.
So this crime did not just affect those people who directly donated, but people out there who might be inclined to or hesitate to donate to other causes in the future. So for those reasons, I am not comfortable and will not grant a deferred judgment. Pursuant to the defendant's plea of guilty to the crime of theft in the first degree in violation of Iowa Code Section 714.11, 2, or 3, and 714 and 702.91, and pursuant to Section 902.3 and 902.9 of the Code, it is the judgment and sentence of the court that you be committed to the custody of the Iowa Department of Corrections for an indeterminate term of incarceration not to exceed 10 years, and you shall pay a fine of $1,370, which is not suspended. The Iowa Medical and Classification Center at Oakdale, Iowa, Mitchellville, Iowa, is designated as the reception center to which the defendant shall be delivered by the sheriff. However, for good cause shown, the sentence just announced is suspended, and the defendant is placed on probation with the 7th Judicial District Department of Corrections for a period of 3 years. The terms of the probation will include that the defendant pay the restitution is in full, that the defendant commit no other crimes, and that the defendant perform 100 hours of community service towards the community service volunteer work that is to be selected by the probation department. I was inclined to specifically name a charity or an organization, but that might arguably impose some burden on that organization as well, so I will not specify which organization. The defendant is ordered to pay restitution in the amount of $39,385.79, payable as indicated in the order filed in this case on July 12, 2023. The law presumes that the law presumes that the defendant has the reasonable ability to repay Category B costs. Category B costs are costs from the clerk of court and court-appointed attorney's fees. This is the clerk's, are the court costs in this matter, Ms. Cunningham, this indicates the court costs are $58,486.62. I cannot imagine that that is accurate.
No, Your Honor, I would not think that that's accurate at all, and I don't even know why that figure would be popping up.
I wonder if they somehow included the restitution, or I don't know, but it's a shocking amount, and so I am not going to, I am going to defer further hearing on the amount of Category B restitution pending.
The shocking amount of money that she
For 30
stole
days, pending
is
clarification.
egregious.
There will, Ms. Yeager, I believe you are privately retained?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so there will be no restitution for court-appointed attorney's fees.
Correct.
Other than appeal rights and bond, have I left anything out?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Russo, now that you've been sentenced, it's my duty to advise you of your appellate rights. Under the Iowa law, because your conviction and sentence was as the result of a plea of guilty, there is no automatic right to appeal. Rather, if you wish to appeal, you must establish good cause for your appeal. And you
Yeah,
must,
she's gonna appeal. Imagine
file
that.
A request for permission to appeal within 30 days. If you wish to appeal and you cannot afford an attorney or a transcript of these proceedings for that purpose, you have the right to make application with the court for court-appointed appellate counsel and a transcript of these proceedings, all at the expense of the state of Iowa. Just be aware that that must be done within 30 days. Also, be aware that at the conclusion of the appeal, you may be ordered to make restitution or pay back court-appointed appellate attorney's fees and costs as well. Bond on appeal is set at $13,000 cash only. I believe that concludes this matter, other than, as I indicate, I would like clarification of court costs before I enter any decision concerning that. Thank you. That concludes this case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you for everyone who sat in here with this disgusting, egregious case. And I can't believe that she's not doing a day. Not a day. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. You defraud people out of close to $40,000. And that's not even the worst part. The worst part is she goes ahead and involves herself, pulls all this scheming, scamming shit off, right? And these people put her name on a shirt. There were people coming from all around to help this girl. What goes on? Really? A 10-year suspended sentence? Dude. What? Man. Privilege. When that lady said that, I kind of was like, what do you mean? But there you go. There you have it. I don't know. Not my decision. Not my thing. I'm just reporting on it. Hit a little close to home. Not a little. A lot. A lot close to home. Way too close to home. And this is exactly, like the judge said, why people do not donate to causes. Because of people like this woman. It's unreal. I appreciate everyone who tuned in or watches this later, and I appreciate all the love and support I've got. God bless, all the best. Be good to yourself and be good to each other.